Let's learn about our world. Isaac Newton contributed significantly to science during his lifetime. Calculus invented the science of mathematics and provided a better understanding of the science of light. But his most important work has been on forces and especially on the law of gravity. Who is Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton life. Isaac Newton was born in 1642 in Woolsthorpe, England, to a poor family. He was born on December 25, the day Jesus was born. While his mother was still pregnant with him, his father went to war on behalf of the king in King Charles I's war with the Parliament. However, his father died in this war and Isaac Newton was left without a father before he was born. His mother's only consolation was the belief among the townspeople that this child, born on Christmas Day after his father died, would heal those around him and have good luck. Although Isaac Newton was born very small and weak due to his early birth. However, over time, he showed great improvement and regained his health. She entrusted Isaac Newton to her grandmother when she was 2 years old and married a wealthy pastor living in North Witham. Being both motherless and fatherless at such a young age, childhood was very difficult for Newton. He enrolled at Trinity College in Cambridge, England only after it was determined that he could not be a successful farmer. While in college, he focused his attention on the fields of mathematics, physics, light and astronomy. After graduation, he began teaching at the university, where he was appointed as the second Lucasian president, Lucasian Professor of Mathematics, a professor of mathematics at the Cambridge University. This professor title was founded in 1663 by Henry Lucas, a member of the Cambridge University Parliament from 1639 to 1640. Nowadays, the Lucasian presidency is considered the most famous academic presidency. In 1689, Isaac Newton was elected as a deputy representing the university. In 1703 he was elected President of the Royal Society, serving as the UK's Academy of Sciences, an expert community for science and possibly the oldest in existence. In 1705, she was given the Knight's Medal by the Queen Anne and received the title of Sir. Isaac Newton never married. Isaac Newton was 84 years old when he died in 1727. Some time after his death his body was moved to a more visible location in Westminster Abbey. It was found that he had a large amount of mercury in his body after the burial, probably because of his work on alchemy. Scientific studies of Isaac Newton. As everyone knows, according to the famous legend, Isaac Newton was sitting under an apple tree and an apple fell on his head and as a result he finds gravity. It is not known whether this event actually happened, but historians also doubt it. If this happened, we can assume that Isaac Newton was a driving force in the thinking process. His most famous work was published under the name of Principia, the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. In this work, he determined 3 laws of motion for the universe. Newton's laws of motion. The first law of motion explains how objects move at the same speed unless there is an external force effect. Force is the effect that causes or changes motion. Thus, an object standing on the table continues to stand until it is subjected to the repulsion force of a force or gravity. Likewise, a moving object continues to move unless it is subjected to a force such as friction. The second law of motion is based on a calculation of how forces interact. The sum of all forces F affecting an object is equal to the product of the mass m and the acceleration so F equals ma. Newton's third law of motion states that every effect in nature will be met with an equal but opposite reaction. If an object exerts a force on another second body once a second, it exerts a force on the first body in the same way but in the opposite direction on the second body. With these three laws, Isaac Newton calculated the law of universal gravity. He found that as two bodies move further away, the gravitational force between them decreases with the reciprocal of the square of the distance between them. Thus, if the objects are twice as far apart, the force of gravity is 1/4 of the distance; if they are 3 times apart, 1/9 as strong. Isaac Newton's laws of motion have greatly contributed to scientists' better understanding of the motion of the planets in the solar system and the Moon around Earth. An interdisciplinary scientist. As a student, Isaac Newton had to take a 2-year break from his education when Trinity College was closed due to the plague. At home, he continued to work on light, using a prism to separate white light, and was the first to argue that white light is a mixture of many types of rays rather than a single entity. He continued to work in the field of light for the next few years and published his findings in Optics in 1704. In those years, he was disturbed by problems with telescopes. As a result, he stoned the mirror and made a tube and invented the reflective telescope himself. Having a mirror rather than lenses, the telescope gave a clearer image than the telescopes ever made. Even though modern techniques have mitigated the problems caused by lenses, large telescopes such as the James Webb Space Telescope use mirrors. As a student, Newton spent his time studying the most advanced mathematical texts. In his spare time, he continued to study mathematics, laying the groundwork for differential and integral calculations. He combined many topics such as finding areas, tangents and the length of curves, which were previously discussed separately, under one topic. He wrote about the Methods series and the movement in 1671, but the publisher could not find it. Isaac Newton, who contributed to humanity and science in many fields, is undoubtedly one of the greatest scientists ever. Today, we still use Newton's experimental methods, differential and integral calculations.